So we recently released our headphone scoring and ranking system up on headphones.com, and a lot of you guys found it confusing. And a lot of headphones that you thought were good in the past don't seem to rank as highly as you expected, and you probably think, what the hell's going on here? What are you guys doing to me? It's time to explain ourselves and what we have done, because believe it or not, all of this is intentional. Okay, so let me back up a little bit and give you guys a scenario. Say you're in the process of buying a new headphone or IEM. So you start looking at reviews and websites and places that are meant to tell you whether or not something is good. And inevitably, you'll land on a site that has a rating system of some kind. And wouldn't you know it, the headphones that you were already looking into, for whatever reason, are shown to get 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or 4 out of 5 stars, or whatever. So surely they must be good. You then buy the headphone, you get it home, and you find out that it actually kind of sucks. Or more realistically, you buy it, you think it's good, and only when you compare it to something else do you realize that it kind of sucks. And I'm not saying this happens all the time. There are, of course, going to be examples where you love a thing, and maybe you get lucky and you live in bliss. But the missing piece here is that you didn't realize that the rating system you were looking at for your purchase decision gave everything 8 or 9 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 stars. Now, I'm deliberately taking shots at some of these sources of information because they're set up to give you false confidence in the product that you're already looking into. And this is a typical confirmation bias thing. People want to feel excited about the thing they're looking into. You want this thing to be good, and you get excited when someone tells you that it's good. And this is a basic part of the consumer thought process being reinforced by these review sites. But this thought process involves capitulating to that part of your brain that's not able to consider nuance or think critically about things. I'd argue it's not actually helping anybody have better experiences, and it's not helping brands understand where they need to improve or what people actually want. Now, some of these examples are way worse than others, and I think you already know the ones that I'm talking about. But even the good examples, websites that I would genuinely recommend to people for information about headphones, like Sound Guys, like ratings, they're not considering the full range of possible sound quality. And this is not about taste or preference, but where something has gone very wrong with the product development or at the production level, products that don't even resemble an ear transfer function of any kind. Oh, but sound is all subjective. Yeah, I hear you. I know that there's a subjective component to all of this, but human beings generally have heads and ears that impact sound, and that matters. You wouldn't want to wear shoes that regularly impale you over and over again while you walk in them. And I did a video all about this. Go and watch that, but I'm getting off track here. In many instances, reviews on these sites will still be negative. So if you read through the reviews, you'll see that they're still critical of the headphones they're talking about. But my point is that the ratings don't proportionally reflect that, and that's because the scale is getting compressed. They're only considering a limited range of what it is shown to be depicting. And this ends up giving these headphones the appearance of a pass, when in reality, no part of these headphones should be given a pass. And importantly, I'm not saying that there's no utility to be gained by looking at these ratings and ranking systems on these various different websites. It's just that when we looked at this media landscape, we had to ask ourselves, is this a fair characterization of the headphone and IEM industry as a whole? Is this a fair depiction of how the headphones that are currently available perform relative to how they could perform? And we came to the conclusion that it just isn't. The reality is that while there are some decent products out there, headphones and IEMs still aren't nearly as good as they could be. And this is not helped by a media ecosystem that's instilling the audience and brands with a sense of false confidence that this is as good as it gets, because it's just not true. I don't care if you spent thousands of dollars on a Susvara or an Amanis or hell, even a Sennheiser HE1, none of them reach the bar where we'd be able to honestly say, even without personalization, this is as good as it gets. Because it's just not true. They can all be meaningfully better. And yeah, we've heard all of them. We have been to what people think is the mountaintop. It can still get quite a bit better than that. So you might be thinking to yourself, you arrogant bastard, how do you know that? Well, obviously the answer is that we've gone deep into the world of EQ. We've seen the heavenly glory of what sound can be when you bother to figure it out perfectly. We've gone to ridiculous lengths to figure that out. And those who do EQ correctly will also typically know what I'm talking about. But it's not even about that. That's actually not the point. Even if you don't consider EQ, even if you hate that I talk about it and hate me for advocating for EQ or the rest of our team for saying it's a good idea, you never want to think about it, you just want to plug something in and be happy. The headphones and IEMs that do exist right now, even the ultra high-end ones, they're just not great for all the aspects of their performance. The hard lesson that any audiophile or person in the industry needs to learn is that buying headphones right now is less about achieving amazing sound quality and far more about figuring out which compromises you're willing to live with. So the Susvara has great treble for me personally, kinda lean in the bass, kinda not so great in the mids, kinda doesn't hit as hard as I would like, and it's kinda scooped out in the ear gain rise. An Odyssey LCD4 might have crazy detailed and textured bass, but it's kind of messed up in the ear gain, and it's got a kind of wonky tuning, and it's heavy as a brick. The Sennheiser HD600 has amazing vocal timbre, but it has meaningful roll-off in the bass. Just gotta pick whichever compromises you're okay with, and even the headphones that you love have compromises. And those are all things that I end up improving for myself with EQ. But the point is, I shouldn't have to, and neither should you. So pick your favorite headphone or IEM. Hear me when I say this. The sound quality that you are getting right now could be better than it is, even without EQ. But it's not, and you've just chosen to be okay with the trade-offs for the sake of the things that you do like about that product. And I'm the same way. Even headphones that I rate highly and use all the time, like the D1, have trade-offs that a better product wouldn't have. What's worse is that the truly bad headphones out there don't come with enough warning labels to indicate that, hey, you should know this is uniquely terrible, or this might be a scam. Instead, they get 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Maybe the warning label thing wouldn't fly with marketing. So rather than just be okay with that or perpetuate a way of giving a pass to things we don't like, we figured the landscape of headphone reviews could probably do with a bit of a reset. And that's what our new ranking system aims to do. So now it's time to do some clarification. So what is it and what goes into it? We came up with a system that parses headphone sound quality in terms of bass, mids, treble, and X factor. And these all have weightings based on the value placed on those different aspects by the reviewer. So for me, I rank treble performance extremely highly since that's a key make or break factor for me, but somebody else might not rank it as highly as they rate the mid-range, for example, or X factor or something like that. I think for X factor, it might be tempting to consider this as kind of like a technicalities category, and you can do that if you want. That would be totally fair. We considered that sometimes a headphone or IEM is better than the sum of its parts, where on paper it shouldn't work that well, but somehow it does. I personally think of this as a bullshit tolerance coefficient, and you can make of that what you will. And I want to note, none of these ratings were based on measured performance whatsoever. That's actually impossible to do, given how headphone behavior varies from head to head, and there's other reasons why that's impossible to do. Don't need to get into that here. But the point is that these are subjective rankings for each category. So it's how we feel about that part of the sound quality when we actually listen to it. I know there's these narratives out there that because we use measurements, people think that's all we do. And no, we're basing this on what they sound like. We then also added comfort and value sections, which contribute to the overall score for the headphones. There might be other ways of doing this, and maybe people don't want value factored into this, and there's an argument for that. But when we're doing our reviews, we do consider the competition for these products, so when we're doing comparisons and stuff like that, and it felt like a reasonable thing to include. Now, that's essentially how we've arrived at the scores we have here in this list. However, the most crucial part to all of this is that this system aims to consider the full range of possible sound quality that could exist, not the range of products that currently do exist. So the best headphone in the world, whatever you think that is, does not get 10 out of 10 because for one aspect or another, it could be better. So let me show you what I mean by this. Here's how I rate the Susvara. So it scores super well in the treble for me, slightly less good in the mids, and slightly less good again in the bass. So I personally love this headphone because the treble does work well for me, and that's an important factor. It's an important quality that I care about a lot. But I will also concede that it doesn't have the best bass or best mid-range. And quite frankly, these are the areas that I adjust with EQ for this headphone. And it is entirely possible to make a headphone that has Susvara level treble, but with better bass and better mids. Let's take a look at another headphone here. Here's the Audio-Technica R70X, and it has some of the best mid-range that I've come across, some of the best mids on the board here. But its downfall is that the treble isn't that great, and it sounds kind of fuzzy and indistinct, and it's not as precise or detailed as I'd like it to be. So it doesn't rank as highly in that category as other headphones do. So you can see both the treble and the X Factor scores are lower. So I can understand that when you look at the sound score or overall scores for what we've put together here, it can be a bit confusing, especially considering many of these products that get 6 out of 10 or whatever have gotten positive reviews in the past from others or from us as well. And I'll be the first to say that my perspective on certain products has changed over the years. I've been doing this for a long time, and the things that I look for in sound quality today are very different from what those things were, 5 or 10 years ago. I remember buying a Philips Fidelio X2, and at the time I thought to myself, yeah, this is pretty good. But I hadn't yet experienced anything close to what sound could be in headphones, even, irrespective of the price. So this kind of recontextualization is bound to happen when you consider the full range of how these products could perform. And even just by dint of creating this kind of rubric, most headphones are going to be ranked lower than what you might be used to, because they're more fairly factoring in the things that might not be as highlighted in a review. And that is kind of the point. They should be ranked lower because that more accurately reflects reality. Even if something is great in one area, it shouldn't be praised to the high heavens simply because of, that part of the sound. if it compromises in other areas, it should be brought down a notch or two because of those compromises. And to any of the brands out there watching this who might be upset that their products aren't getting the 9s out of 10s or 4 out of 5s that they might be used to from the headphone media landscape, you absolutely can if the products perform well enough to warrant those scores. So all of this is a long-winded way of saying, let's just be a little bit less tolerant of the compromises inherent in all the products that exist out there, and let's hold everything to a higher standard. That's what we want. That's what I think you should want, and hopefully we can get that. I think that this scoring system that we have here, in my mind, this reflects the reality that there's still quite a bit of room for headphones to grow, and I'd like to see that in the coming years. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. If any of this is still confusing, or if you don't like this approach, that's cool. Just let me know down in the comments below. I'll do my best to try and answer them. You can also connect with me on the forum at forum.headphones.com or on our Discord that'll also be linked below. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.